Hello again. In this video I'd like to introduce you to customizing CodeRunner questions. So I'm on the website coderunner.org.nz and there's a link here to the documentation for CodeRunner on GitHub, and in particular I want to draw to your attention a section called the architecture of CodeRunner, which explains how CodeRunner works. You really should read that if you're going to do much of this customization business. For now, hopefully I can get across enough during the video. If you watched the last video on writing simple questions using the built-in question types, you'll recall that the first thing you have to do with a CodeRunner question is choose which of the CodeRunner built-in types you want. So C function, C program, C++, and so on, and we used Python 3. But it doesn't take too long before, as an experienced teacher, you'll discover you want to set questions that can't be handled by those. And here's an example. This question asks the students to rewrite a piece of code, this function here which prints all the negative numbers in a list of numbers using a for loop. It asks them to rewrite the function using a while loop. That works in the sense that if I fill in the correct response and check it, the answer is marked correct, but unfortunately if the student just takes the code they're given and pastes that in instead and checks it, they get full marks too. So clearly it's not actually checking that the student has done what they were asked, rewritten the function. How do we fix it? Well, turns out not to be too hard. So here's the question author form for that particular question. It uses Python 3 again, and it has the specification, and it has the sample answer there, and it has all the test cases. But this is the important thing, a checkbox called Customize. When I click that, some new stuff appears in the form that wasn't there before, a customization panel and an advanced customization that we won't be worrying about in this video. Here's the important bit. It's this thing called the template. So the template defines the piece of code that gets run on Job when the student prints check. It's a mixture of Python 3 in this case and Twig. So Twig is a template language for PHP that inserts bits of, it's a macro programming language really. It inserts, for example, the student answer goes in there and the test cases go in here and so on. You'll have to read about Twig if you're going to do much of this, but for now I think we can get by without worrying too much about Twig. What this template does is builds a program consisting of the student answer, assignment to a local variable containing the student answer, which we're about to use, assignment to a separator variable, and then for each test case, the test code and printing of a separator. That's probably not very obvious. Let's make it clearer by clicking this button called Template Debugging, which is very useful if you're doing much customization. When I now saved the changes and rerun the student code, or rerun the question I should say, if I paste in this particular answer and check it, what I get is the so-called debug source code for all test runs. So there's the student answer, there's the assignment to a local variable of a string containing that student answer, and here are the 4 test cases. The first 3 being followed by the printing of a separator string. The separator string is what's used to split the output up into the different rows of the result table. It should be fairly clear from that that all I have to do to fix this problem I have with this question is to check the student answer. So let's see how we do that. We go up to the template again, somewhere. There it is. We go up to the template, and after getting the student answer variable, we check if it contains for or while as required. Should contain while, of course, not for. The best way of doing that by far is to put this through the Python parser, which is one of the Python library functions, and to look at the parse tree. But we're going to do a local hack just for the purposes of this video, which is good enough for a common question types anyway. We can just go, if there's a string for in the student answer, then we're going to print an error message. So I'm going to print, you cannot use for loops, exclamation mark. Now it's quite important that I print this to the standard error, the system standard error. This ensures that it is treated as an error. So I'm going to go file equals sys.stderr, and I also wish to abort execution at this point by calling sys.exit with a 1. In order to use the sys, I have to import sys here. That's essentially all I have to do. So essentially just check the student code before I start testing it. With those changes, if I now preview the question, if I give it the right answer, then it gets marked correct. I knew that already actually because I had validate turned on. Oh, I should have turned off template debugging. Ignore that, and here it is giving the right answer. Whereas if I fill in the given answer originally, and again ignore the output from the template debugging, what I now get is a suitable result table saying error, you cannot use for loops. This is because the output came to sys.stderr. So just to recap, in the question author form, the key button here, the check box for customize, gives me access to the question template. The question template defines the code that will actually be run, and I can edit that in all sorts of ways. In this case, I just added a bit of extra code to verify that the student code didn't use for loops. Later on in other videos, we'll look at how we can go further down this path and define our own question types to add to the existing set of built-in question types. For now, hope that gave you the general idea. Thanks for watching. Bye.